Today, CNN 10 starts with the account of a woman who climbed out of modern-day slavery and didn't stop until she reached the peak of the world's tallest mountain. I'm Cral, Azuz, and we're taking you to Nepal. Home to Mount Everest, Nepal is also a place of widespread poverty. About 1/4 of its 29 million people live below the poverty line, and that can make them vulnerable to the trap of human trafficking. We've reported on how there are believed to be more slaves today than at any time in human history. This includes people who are forced to leave their homes, forced to work, people who are abused, taken advantage of, or confined to one place. And 28-year-old Kanchi Maya Tamang says she was one of them. But her story didn't end with the people who once threatened to kill her if she tried to get away. Her journey took her from the depths of captivity to the height of Mount Everest.
Kanchi Maya Tamang is going home a hero. It's been 7 long months away, and in that time, she conquered the greatest human challenge of all. She climbed Mount Everest. It's an unlikely turnaround. Until just last year, she says she was trapped in what is known as modern-day slavery. She tells us she was a maid for a rich Arab family in Cairo. She was exploited, she says, abused, a prisoner. Tamang says she was never allowed to leave the house without minders. She even says her passport was confiscated. The power dynamic was clear. She says she was enslaved, and it lasted for 6 years. Tamang tells CNN she begged and pleaded that she needed to return home to see her ailing mother. As sometimes happens in these cases, her employers eventually relented, and she was free. Now Tamang was a woman on a mission. She wanted to raise awareness about modern-day slavery to make sure what happened to her didn't happen to others. If you speak out normally, it's difficult to get attention, she says. But when you speak out from the top of the world, people sit up and notice. And for Tamang, the top of the world was Mount Everest. Nepal's government says it believes Tamang is the first survivor of modern-day slavery to have scaled the world's tallest peak. And now she's coming home. Sindhupalchok district is a major hub of human trafficking in Nepal. Young girls from here are often lured to work as maids abroad. Tamang wants to stop that from happening. Women here are illiterate, she says. They can't get jobs. They're susceptible to being trafficked. That's why I want to encourage them to join the mountaineering business. A massive earthquake in 2015 has made a bad situation worse. More than 3,500 people died in Tamang's district alone. Tens of thousands lost their homes, again, making them more vulnerable to jobs like the one Tamang escaped from. This is Tamang's childhood school. Here, her story is already legend. We have to start raising awareness against this crime from the school level, she says, as the students listen intently. The school was on her way home all the way up the hill. Tamang stops again. Other schools knew she was headed this way on the long journey home. Her story has spread. She warns the children to avoid her fate. Finally, she makes it to her parents. They're excited, proud. They've gathered friends from around the village to welcome her. A traditional ritual, and then it's time to settle in. The family is poor, but Tamang hopes she will win supporters to fund her anti-slavery campaign. She's now planning to climb other top peaks with this message: we are people, not property. I am a victim of modern-day slavery, she says. I want everyone who has been in my situation to not feel defeated, because together we can achieve big things in life. It's a tall order, but Tamang says she can make a difference, one mountain at a time. Ravi Agrawal, CNN.
People around the world are remembering a man known as America's pastor. Evangelist Billy Graham passed away yesterday at the age of 99. He was one of the most influential Christian preachers of the age. Over 6 decades, Graham prayed with U.S. presidents, hosted massive revival events, and preached to more than 200 million people worldwide. Condolences poured in from every corner, from foreign leaders and all living U.S. presidents, for a man who came from simple beginnings.
Born November 7th, 1918, Billy Graham was raised on a dairy farm in Charlotte, North Carolina. When he was 15, he attended a revival. It changed his life.
Billy went forward and publicly made his commitment to Jesus Christ.
Graham became a Baptist minister, and in 1943 he graduated from Wheaton College. That's where he also found the love of his life, Ruth. Billy and Ruth Graham were married for more than 60 years. And Graham became a traveling evangelist with Youth for Christ, an organization that ministered to youth and servicemen during World War II.
I do not believe that any man can solve the problems of life without Jesus Christ.
Graham's message resonated with post-war America and changed how mainstream America viewed God and country.
Billy preached against communism. He preached a strong moral message.
That moral message included civil rights. Graham became friends with Martin Luther King Jr., and in towns where whites wanted crusades segregated, Graham took a stand.
Billy himself went and took the rope down and said, we don't have segregated meetings. And he took a stand for his belief that every man is equal before Christ.
In 1950, Billy Graham made his first visit to the White House. He met and prayed with Harry Truman. Over the years, he was close to nearly every U.S. president. His friendship with Richard Nixon led to controversy. A recorded conversation from 1972, made public 30 years later, revealed Graham making what many considered anti-Semitic remarks in the Oval Office. Graham later apologized. Billy Graham visited more than 185 countries and territories, building bridges and breaking cultural barriers. He remained popular to the end of his life, and his message never wavered.
Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Then he said an interesting thing. No man comes to the Father except through me.
I'm Ryan Nobles reporting.
10-second trivia. In what country was an army of terracotta warriors built more than 2,000 years ago to guard the tomb of an emperor? China, Egypt, India, or Thailand? In 1974, a Chinese farmer discovered thousands of life-sized figures meant to protect the tomb of China's first emperor. Not everyone wants to spend a few minutes reading to a dog, and that was the problem for a reading therapy dog named Sting. Usually kids read to him at a Minnesota library, but one day no one came, so his owner posted a picture of him in the reading room, all alone, and let folks know when he'd be back. Well, it went viral. People from across the country called, offering to read to Sting, and now he has more young readers than he has time for. So the dog who had no one to read for him is now all booked up. For some kids, it takes the sting out of reading to put Sting in it, and now that he's bound for many hours of page turning, Sting's at a loss for words. But I wouldn't read too much into it. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10.